Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 41 Lingbo Microsteps. Su Ming is now at the end of her tether. He has experienced 20 levels of wheel battles. Mental energy and physical strength are all exhausted. In this Tower of Tianji, no food or medicine can be used to restore the state. He knew he probably wouldn't be able to defeat him. But Su Ming still chose to take action resolutely and challenge the 20th floor. How can there be a miracle if you don't try it? Su Ming held the Shadow Stream sword in her left hand and the dragon-inlaid broken sword in her right hand, and suddenly rushed forward. The thunder winding sword technique was fully activated. The terrifying thunder flashed. With his right hand, he drew his sword and slashed instantly. Once your proficiency reaches this level, you can even use the instant sword draw without the need for a scabbard. Su Ming's figure turned into a streak of blood and rushed past. The lava knight slowly shook his head, sighed, and swung the giant hammer. Crash! At this moment, the lava turned into a sky curtain, causing a scalding heat wave. Su Ming rushed into it, only to feel burning pain all over his body, and his health points dropped rapidly. In the end, he was completely buried in it. But there was also a hint of shock in the eyes of the lava knight. Because before Su Ming was defeated, the two swords also struck him. Its blood volume dropped by 50%. Challenger, if it's next time, you will definitely beat me. It said in shock. There was also a bit of admiration in his eyes. Su Ming's vision went dark, and before he could respond, he had already exited the Tower of Silence in the next moment. Stop on the 20th floor. Close black lens bracket. Current ranking. Number 1. Rewards are being settled. Su Ming was expressionless. Rankings are like a floating cloud to him. Rewards are real. In this wave of challenges to the Tower of Silence, he reached level 19 and received a large number of weapons, equipment rewards, and materials. There are now additional settlement bonuses. Finally, the reward settlement is completed. Wanzu coin 50,000. Advent coin 100,000. Flowing footwork diamond low-grade bodywork skill. Su Ming immediately sublimated the flowing footwork. Sublimation successful. Close black lens bracket. Lingbo Weibo diamond top grade movement technique. The super movement technique before the ages is based on the 8 and 64 hexagrams of the Book of Changes, and moves in a specific direction of the hexagrams. Close black lens bracket. It was actually directly upgraded to a top-grade diamond movement technique. Su Ming was overjoyed. He crushed it directly and studied. He does have a golden level of movement, hound pace. But that movement technique is not strong enough for Su Ming. There is also a stronger movement method, Hidden God Step, but it is a legendary step method after all. With his current physical strength and mental attributes, it consumes too much. Every time it is activated, a lot of physical energy is consumed. But this Lingbo Microstep is different, you can use it multiple times. At the same time, it is also an advanced body skill that can avoid many moves. In the pursuit battle, he can also be invincible. From now on, I usually use Lingbo Weibo. When the last resort comes, using Hidden God Step to avoid necessary attacks is the best solution. The hound pace can be abandoned. Iteration of skills is normal. After learning this skill, Su Ming immediately felt that there were countless hexagram knowledge and floating visualizations of footwork in his mind. In the end, it was successfully learned. Lingbo Weibo Diamond Top Grade. Proficiency. 0.3 million. Afterwards, Su Ming left the Tower of Silence. He walked slowly outside. My sword should be forged soon. He murmured and walked away slowly. At this moment, outside the tower, people are watching Li Chengguang's achievements. Li Chengguang, past the 11th floor. Close black lens bracket. Wow, he can still fight. To be honest, Li Chengguang is a bit aggressive. He broke through the 10th floor and didn't get any extra rewards, but he continued to break through 2 floors before stopping. Monster. He has a good character, but when he comes out and finds out that he is only in 2nd place and has surpassed the killing god by several levels, he is afraid that his mentality will collapse. Li Chengguang, stopped on the 12th floor. Close black lens bracket. Li Chengguang's final results are also out. I guess his mentality will collapse after he comes out. People said, no matter how powerful a person is, if he suffers 2 huge blows in succession, he probably won't be able to bear it. Oh, Li Chengguang, I'm afraid he's going to die. I think he will be unable to recover in the future. People shook their heads slowly and said with some regret. At this time, Su Ming's ranking is still rising. Kill God, clear the 18th floor. Close black lens bracket. What? He's on the 18th floor. Killing God, clear the 19th floor. Close black lens bracket. I'm stupid, monster, real monster, who is this person and what kind of talent is he? Li Chengguang from Wuyang City, Sword Master Su Ming from Xuanjing City, Zhang Tang from Zhang family, Zhu Xingyanzi, all the geniuses in our cities may not be as good as this god of death. The god of death, stopped at the 20th floor. Close black lens bracket. Current ranking, first, close black lens bracket. Seeing this news, people almost held their breath. After a long time, they looked at each other in shock. A newcomer, stop at the 20th floor. Outrageous. Many second-rank masters can't beat the 19th floor. As a rookie, he has reached the 20th floor. I really want to know who he is, but he probably used a title instead of his real name. The people said in shock, their voices trembling. At this moment, there was another person outside with an extremely gloomy face. She was wearing a red dress, her figure was hot, and her face was covered with a cold light. Her name is Lu Na. Who is this killing god? Brother Shen Guang who surpassed me unexpectedly. She gritted her silver teeth lightly, and said angrily in her heart. All the fiery gazes, all the people's focus, were on that killing god. And those scenery should belong to Li Chengguang. Listening to the evaluation of Li Chengguang from the people around her made her heart bleed even more. But she didn't bother to quarrel, because she had already regarded these people as dead. Once her strength rises, she will immediately kill everyone who has slandered Li Chengguang here. Yes, her mind was warped. It can be said that she is a fanatical star chaser, and Li Chengguang is her star. Lu Na is a student of Xuanjing City, but not from the number 1 middle school of the same school as Su Ming, but a student of a certain vocational high school. At this moment, her fists were clenched and her heart was filled with hatred. Li Chengguang, a swordsman from the next city, killed her sister in the newbie copy. She saw it with her own eyes. As for herself, due to lack of strength, she could only hide in the grass aside and watch the whole process. The tragic death of her sister made her heart feel like a knife. The extreme sadness soon became unbearable for her mind. So the brain starts the mechanism of self-protection. That hatred turned into a strange obsession. Lu Na began to be intoxicated by Li Chengguang's powerful strength. Mu Cheng's twisted psychology took over her mentality. She even thought that the scene where Li Chengguang killed her sister was a bit handsome. Perhaps, this is the so-called Stockholm Syndrome. Chapter 42. In fact, in the final analysis, Lu Na has long been resentful towards her sister. She is a 7-star professional, and her talent is quite good, but her sister is actually an 8-star, which took away all her brilliance. Parents poured all their love and resources into my sister. Therefore, from the bottom of her heart, there is no real love for her sister. It was just secular morality that framed her. And when Li Chengguang killed her sister in the dungeon, at that moment, the shackles in her heart, all the rules and regulations, were also cut off. Morality and family affection are meaningless things in her eyes now. Li Chengguang killed her sister, and she has to thank Li Chengguang. Generally speaking, Lu Na is Li Chengguang's little fan girl. After the novice dungeon challenge ended, she immediately went to Wuyang City to find Li Chengguang, hoping to form a team and challenge other dungeons together in the future. She wants to be with Li Chengguang forever. With powerful people, she will also shine. But when she arrived, she found that Li Chengguang was devastated. The way he exited the dungeon shocked all the students in Wuyang No. 3 middle school. The right hand holding the knife was covered with scars, dripping with blood, and the knife was shattered. It seemed that Li Chengguang was defeated by someone. She was also shocked at the time. She will never forget the look in Li Chengguang's eyes at that time. What a look. Dazed, unbelievable, lonely, painful, angry. Both. This made her feel bad. Look at the ranking of the copy at that time. Li Chengguang was defeated and became the second place. The sword master named Su Ming surpassed her sword madness. This not only made Li Chengguang suffer, but also made her suffer. She does not allow anyone to be stronger than Li Chengguang. She is also a 7-star professional with good talent. For this reason, she also wants to challenge the Tower of Heaven's silence and improve her strength. Lu Na's dream is to assist Li Chengguang and become the strongest person. Her profession, a coincidence. An assassin. She must follow Li Chengguang's footsteps and become stronger. She wants to help Li Chengguang climb all the way to the top. It was this belief that made her fearless of challenges. With firm steps, she also slowly moved towards the Tower of Heaven's silence. At this moment, an unremarkable young man walked up to her and passed her by. It was Su Ming. There was no scar on Su Ming's body. It is impossible to tell that he is the one who killed all the way to the 20th floor. Because his self-healing factor bloodline helped him heal all the big and small wounds. The moment they passed by, Lu Na was a little surprised. She felt as if there was a bloodthirsty beast walking past her, with an extremely terrifying temperament. Only for a moment, she took a sharp breath and turned to look. Behind him, there was nothing. Wrong, an illusion. Su Ming has disappeared into the crowd. The killing god, can't it be him? She was breathing heavily, unbelievably. But his appearance seems to be that of Su Ming, a sword master from No. 1 middle school. A sword master, so weak in the early stage, at most he got the first place in the dungeon by luck. How could he rush to the 20th floor in the Tower of Silence? Probably not him. She shook her head slowly, dispelling the guesses in her heart. However, the murderous intent in his eyes did not diminish in the slightest. In her heart, Su Ming is still going to die in the end. Because he surpassed Li Chengguang. At this time, another person with a long knife came out from the Tower of Heaven's silence. Li Chengguang. His eyes were dazed, even a little dull. Walk out of the tower with slow steps. It's like a walking dead. Lu Na's eyes twinkled with stars, as if she saw an idol. She hurried forward. Li Chengguang. Li Chengguang didn't seem to notice, and passed her by. I didn't lose. I didn't lose. At this time, Li Chengguang could be heard muttering these things in his pale lips. Lu Na was slightly stunned, and then her heart was bleeding. He knew that Li Chengguang had suffered a huge blow. She quickly supported Li Chengguang and walked outside. Seeing the ranking outside the tower, Li Chengguang was even more shocked. His eyes were trembling. Kill God first, 20th floor. His voice was full of extreme shock, trembling, and puzzlement. Can surpass him, yes. But so many layers beyond him. This completely collapsed his worldview. Li Chengguang couldn't stand still, and fell to the ground dejectedly, kneeling on his knees. The knives fell to the ground with a crisp sound. Then he smiled. Ha 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 ha. His laugh was a little maniacal. Seeing this scene, the surrounding crowd stopped mocking him. Because it is too miserable. The hero of the past is now completely decadent. Su Ming walked slowly towards the forge and opened his personal information at the same time. Open black lens bracket. Su Ming close black lens bracket. Carried title. God of Death. Titles in effect. First Blood, Newcomer King. Level 19, 5455, 12,000 experience. Occupation. Sword God. Mythical level, unique in the world. Open black lens bracket. Power, 55 close black lens bracket. Physique, 60. Open black lens bracket. Agility, 200 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Spirit, 100 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Lucky, 50 close black lens bracket. Bloodline, Immortality A, Self-Healing Factor C. Talent, Sublimation of all things, Original sword body, Automatic cultivation. Skills, God-killing sword, Full hide, Hidden step, Eye of insight. Lightning entangling sword. Ju, Instant slashing sword, Sword martial arts master, Rainstorm sword, Royal sword, Skyfall sword. Tomb, Spiritual blade, Lingbo Weebu. Su Ming came to the forge and found the blacksmith. What happened to my sword? Su Ming stepped forward and asked. The blacksmith swung out a long sword behind him. We have already done. The sword in front of him is completely different from the original Xuangang blood sword. First of all, the sword body is no longer pure black material. It is the wonderful color formed by the fusion of multiple alloy materials. The background color is pure steel white, but under the reflection of the sun, it seems to be shining with various colors, just like some rare ores. At the same time, the length of the sword also changed. Become slightly longer than before. The tip presents a 30-degree acute angle, which looks extremely sharp. The grip of the sword hilt is made of wolf bone, and a layer of animal skin is wrapped around it. Holding it in Su Ming's hand, it only feels slightly warm and soft, which fits very well. Scan the information of this sword. Golden Xuanfang sword, gold top grade. After being forged by the blacksmith with multiple composite materials, the grade has been raised to the gold level, and the sharpness and toughness of this sword have risen to a higher level. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Affix drinking red. After beating a monster with this sword, it can absorb the contaminated blood and heal the owner's injury. Close black lens bracket. Blood. After killing a monster with this sword, it can temporarily increase the owner's attributes by 20 points for 1 minute. Close black lens bracket. Alloy edge. The sharpness of this sword is far superior to ordinary gold top grade weapons, even reaching platinum level. Close black lens bracket. Chapter 43. All the original affixes of Xuangang Blood Sword have been retained. Not only that, but there is also an extra affix effect. Alloy blade. The sharpness of this sword is not comparable to other gold rank weapons. Su Ming was very satisfied, and swiped it a few times, the blade gleaming coldly. Dragon inlaid broken sword, shadow stream long sword. With this weapon, I have 3 swords. And none of them are below gold quality. The dragon inlaid broken sword is even more diamond level. It can be said that in a short period of time, I don't have to worry about not having enough weapons. With the sword sheathed, he was in a good mood. Su Ming already knew what his heyday looked like. In the left hand is the shadow flow long sword, in the right hand is the dragon inlaid broken sword. At the same time, use the Yujian skill to urge the Xuanfang sword to slash the enemy while flying in the air. Coupled with the spiritual blade. That is equivalent to being able to control 4 swords at the same time to kill the enemy. This is horrible. It's not a simple 1x4. Don't forget, Su Ming also has the talent of the original sword body, which can permanently increase the power of swordsmanship. 10 times 4, that is 40 times. The lethality of one person is basically equivalent to the sum of several teams. The only fly in the ointment is that Su Ming's mental power is not enough. Simultaneously activating 4 sword skills, this is definitely something other professionals would never dare to dream of. Even if Su Ming could do it, it would only last a few seconds of peak output at most. I don't know when I will awaken the skills mastered by the 2 swords. Su Ming thought to himself. Afterwards, he took out the dragon inlaid broken sword and placed it in front of the blacksmith. Boss, make me 2 more scabbards. A pair of long scabbards, specially made. A short scabbard. Su Ming was going to put the tip of the dragon inlaid broken sword in the broken form in the sword box behind him. And the broken sword is placed on the waist. In this way, when facing the enemy, you can be surprised. Who could have predicted that a pure sword-cutting throat suddenly flew out from behind? The boss took the long shang broken sword, his eyes slightly startled. Young man, what is the quality of your weapon? Hearing this, Su Ming said without changing his face. Platinum inferior. This sword is his property, and other people cannot scan the data. Only people like myself who have the skill of Eye of Insight can view other people's information at will, even their underwear can be seen clearly. Hearing this, the blacksmith raised the long sword in front of his face and couldn't help but marvel. Wonderful, so wonderful, this craftsmanship, this forging pattern. It's just a low-grade platinum weapon. The blacksmith's eyes became a little obsessed. He stroked the broken part of the mark with his hand, with a disbelieving expression on his face. But he didn't ask any more. After all, if the guest wants to conceal the quality of the weapon, he has no right to ask. It's work ethic. He didn't say much, and immediately put the weapon on the shelf and measured it with a series of instruments. Length, thickness, sword grid. Well, this sword is too sharp, I'm afraid it can't bear it with an ordinary wooden scabbard. I'll use black stone and ironwood to make these 2 pairs of scabbards. The price may be a bit expensive. 30,000 advent coins. The blacksmith touched his chin and said. Su Ming nodded and spent the money without hesitation. Wuxia ironwood is a pure natural and rare wood, as black as iron, extremely hard, yet very light. It is very expensive scabbard material, worth the price. The boss didn't make random offers. Soon, Su Ming's scabbard was finished. It's 2. One is long and the other is short. The short one is like a dagger sheath, which is hung on the waist, and the long one is like a sword, which can be carried behind the back. The scabbard after specialization is a double-layer interlayer, which can hold a part of the blade of the dragon inlaid broken sword and the entire colored gold Xuanfang sword at the same time. The original scabbard can be eliminated. Su Ming was carrying a long sword on his back, with a broken sword hanging from his waist. Wearing a gray robe, he looks fully armed. Okay, it's time to kill the big snake. A flash of excitement flashed in Su Ming's eyes. He tapped the Tiantahui token lightly. The next moment, a transparent screen appeared in front of him. Su Ming's task list appears in it. Open black lens bracket D. Conquer the Python King. Close black lens bracket. Location: South Li District of Shachuan Wilderness, coordinates deep in the forest. Hunting and killing a two-turn boa constrictor king in the wild forest of Nanli District. It has devoured several members of the Tianta society. Its strength is terrifying. Its current level is around 25. Please be extremely careful. Close black lens bracket. Reward: Wanzu coin x 10,000, random platinum skill scroll x1. After completing this task, you will officially become a member of the Platinum Sky Tower Club. Close black lens bracket. Consume 10,000 advent coins to teleport. Is it teleported to the mission area? Close black lens bracket. With serious eyes, Su Ming took a deep breath and clicked the coordinate button on the screen. Just teleport it there, it's more convenient and quicker. I don't have so much time to waste. Su Ming condensed his voice. The next moment, his figure was illusory and disappeared directly into the space. When it appeared again, it was already a big forest. It was raining and there was a moist smell in the air. All around are the fragrance of grass and earth. I have been living in the city almost since I was a child. The smell in this forest is really good. Su Ming smiled slightly and said calmly, "This is the taste of nature. The air here is very fresh, completely different from the smell of blood in the dungeon of Frenzy Forest. But this is a wilderness. Nowadays, Blue Star is full of mutant ferocious beasts and monsters. If you are not careful, you will die without a burial place. Only cities are slightly safer. In other words, the level of danger here is no lower than in the dungeon." Su Ming frowned slightly and moved forward slowly. He looked very cautious. He opened the virtual screen map and headed towards the mission target location. After walking for about 10 minutes, Su Ming came to a village in the wilderness. Some human beings who have not awakened their profession will be destined to be laborers for the rest of their lives if they stay in the city. In order to escape, many unemployed people will choose to escape into the wilderness and establish village life. But although such a life is free, it is also full of crises. He could be killed by a wild beast at any time. Su Ming came to the village and immediately smelled a strong smell of blood. And the smell of corpses. He looks around. There is not a single living person in this village. All dead bodies. There were about dozens of corpses, who died tragically here. There are ruins everywhere in the village, as if they have been corroded by something. All the corpses were in miserable and shocking death conditions, and almost all of them died with their eyes open. No one, old or young, was spared, and they were all bitten and killed by some kind of giant creature. Su Ming came to the body of a little girl and knelt down to take a closer look. He discovered that the villagers here all had some animal characteristics, such as cat ears, mouse tail, eagle legs. This is an orc village. Su Ming's eyes were serious. In this world, all races coexist, including orcs and elves. This is not unusual. He reached out and wiped a layer of slime on the wall. The skin of the fingers suddenly curled up and rotted, and the pain was obvious. It seems to be snake venom. Perhaps it was my mission target, the big python, that did it. Chapter 44. Su Ming quickly left the village and went deep into the dense forest. There are too many corpses in this village, and the smell of blood will attract many unnecessary beasts. I have to leave as soon as possible. It didn't take long for Su Ming to find a pile of giant snake excrement. Very large, surrounded by flies and insects. It can be said that it is a super big pile of turd, which is taller than Su Ming's entire body. As soon as you get close, you can smell a strong stench. The most important thing is that there are many human limbs and bone structures in this pile of feces. Still dripping with blood, it was shocking to watch. Because snakes are cold-blooded animals, their digestive organs are not very powerful. Many bones, feathers, and leather objects cannot be digested and will be excreted in the feces. Su Ming was so choked that she couldn't breathe, but she still stood there and used her insightful eyes to scan the information on this thing. Open black lens bracket giant snake feces close black lens bracket. Quality: garbage. Distinctive snake dung, accompanied by a strong stench and rancid smell, which contains a large number of superbugs. If dipped in a weapon, it can be enchanted with poisonous properties within a week. Close black lens bracket. This pile of feces is still very fresh. Judging from the shape of this pile of feces, the giant snake went to the northeast. Close black lens bracket. Su Ming's eyes were serious. It seems that the big snake is very close. It's actually capable of possessing the attribute of demonic poison. This shit is indeed extraordinary. Su Ming rubbed his chin and muttered. But he wasn't going to plunge his precious sword into it. Maybe the enemy is not disgusted yet, so he disgusts himself first. Su Ming headed northeast and walked quickly. Soon, he gradually discovered that there were some bloodstains and human footprints on the ground. Could it be that there are still people alive in that small village? Su Ming guessed in his heart. Just in time, if you find the living person, you can ask about the condition of the big snake. Su Ming followed the blood trail and came to a remote path. This path leads directly to a cave. The cave is very shallow, almost only shelter from wind and rain, there is not much space inside. Su Ming looked solemn and stepped in slowly. As soon as he came in, he found that there was a person sleeping in the cave. To be precise, not people, but orcs. It's a little girl. It looks like she is about 13 or 14 years old, with a pair of cat ears on her head. She was dressed in animal skin clothes, lying on the ground to sleep, her skin was smooth and fair. There are only simple straw mats on the ground. On her ankle, there was a long wound, blood was flowing, and there was some yellow pus, which seemed to be infected. Su Ming immediately scanned her profile. Open black lens bracket Leah close black lens bracket. Race: Orc. Level: Level 3, 0, 300 experience points. Open black lens bracket Occupation: Assassin close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Strength: 9 close black lens bracket. Physique: 9. Open black lens bracket Agility: 27 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Spirit: 9 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Luck: 9 close black lens bracket. Talent: Catman Bloodline, she is born to be strong and strong. Her agility attribute effect is 1.5 times that of a normal professional. Skills: Silent Step, Claw Strike. The blood of half-orcs is different from that of humans, and they can awaken their careers earlier. Su Ming was a little surprised that this orc girl in the wild mountain village was quite talented. Achieved 9 stars. Before Su Ming could do anything, Leah's cat ears trembled suddenly. Then, she opened her eyes suddenly. She took off the rabbit and jumped up all at once, with quick and flexible movements. Take a step back, away from Su Ming. Her waist was slightly bowed, and there was obvious hostility in her eyes. The whole person looks like a cat with fried fur. Even in sleep, he can be so alert. This is how an orc cat hears. In her right hand, she held a rough dagger backwards. 5 sharp claws protruded from the fingertips of the left hand. A pair of big dark red vertical pupils stared at Su Ming closely, with a hint of fear in them. She sized up Su Ming's appearance, obviously a little surprised. Human, you, who are you? She asked cautiously. Su Ming watched her fighting posture with cold eyes, but did not draw his sword. Instead, he showed the Tiantahui token on his waist. Little girl, I have no hostility. I'm here to hunt monsters. Su Ming said calmly. The hostility in Leah's eyes subsided when she heard the words, Tiantahui. Oh, so that's the case. She suddenly realized, stood up straight, and restrained her fighting posture. She grew up in this wild village and rarely saw humans. Therefore, she will naturally be hostile towards Su Ming at first. But the members of the Tianta Club are different. This is an organization among humans that specializes in hunting monsters, and is considered relatively friendly. When she was in the village, she also met several humans from the Tianta society and became familiar with them. Because there is a giant snake that has been wreaking havoc around the village for several years. The Tianta society sent out several teams, but they all died in the snake's belly. Are you here to hunt that mutated giant snake? Leah said. Su Ming nodded. Big brother, then please go back. The Tower Club has sent several teams. But those people, without exception, died in the belly of the giant snake. She was still young, but her eyes showed exhaustion. What's more, you are only alone. Don't die. She looked at Su Ming and said seriously. Su Ming's expression remained the same when he heard that. He immediately took the lead and asked, Leah, do you know the whereabouts of that giant snake? The rhythm of the dialogue was strongly guided by Su Ming. The little girl nodded subconsciously. After all, he is a half-orc, so he is born with no mind. No, why should I nod? Also, how do you know my name? The cat girl's eyes widened with surprise. Don't worry about those details. Let me ask you, was your village massacred by that giant snake? Su Ming asked. Leah nodded, with a hint of sadness in her eyes. Yes, I am the only one in our village who survived. Her ears were drooped and she felt very depressed. Orcs live in groups and have a vague concept of family, but even so, she still feels sad. After all, they are villagers who get along day and night. She saw with her own eyes the cruelty of the giant snake. A man cried alone in the cave for several days without regaining his composure. Do you want revenge? Su Ming asked. Think. She recalled what happened to her friends and elders in the village since she was a child, and she felt hatred in her heart. Speak firmly. Su Ming was persuasive. Think. She gritted her silver teeth lightly, her emotions being guided by Su Ming. Little girl, you lead the way, and I will help you get revenge. Su Ming smiled slightly and said. His hand, resting on the hilt of the sword at his waist, looked relaxed. There seems to be no pressure. This kind of action gives people the feeling that they are under control, and their strength is unfathomable. Seeing Su Ming's appearance, the little girl was a little surprised. Brother, are you really sure? She was still a little scared. Believe me, I am stronger than those previous members of the Tiantahui. I can kill that big snake. Su Ming stepped forward, with a solemn expression, and promised. Hearing this, Leah clenched her fists. Finally, she agreed. Well, I'll take you. I know where its lair is. Chapter 45. I'll take you. I know where its lair is. Leah said. Gu. But then, her stomach growled. She blushed slightly, feeling a little ashamed. It is a very embarrassing thing for half-orcs to scream with hunger. After all, this is a race that prides itself on hunting and eating meat. Hunger means impotence. Over time, this formed the unique culture of the orcs. Su Ming also has a good understanding of the culture of the half-orc race. In his previous life, he also had several half-orc teammates. With a calm face, he immediately opened the personal panel. In the store, a fresh crispy roast leg of lamb is purchased. Removed from personal space, still steaming. Su Ming handed it to her directly. You are too weak now, I am afraid that you will pass out after walking a few steps, eat this and replenish your strength. Su Ming said. She looked at the leg of lamb, and her eyes were about to light up. After staying in this cave for several days, she was already hungry. Thank you. For a half-orc, she was quite polite. She took the leg of lamb, sat cross-legged on the ground, and began to gnaw on it. After the first sip, she was astonished. All kinds of human spices such as cumin, chili powder, and salt have never been tasted by half-orcs. For her, it can be said to be extremely delicious. After 3 times, 5 times and 2 times, she ate up a whole leg of lamb. Needless to say, half-orcs are really fierce when it comes to eating. Afterwards, Su Ming bought a bottle of healing potion in the human shop and handed it to her. Your leg is hurt, Su Ming said. She nodded, took the potion, and drank it in one gulp. Half-orcs grew up in the village, so they don't know how to be polite. Those are the hypocrisy of human beings. Her heart is truly natural and pure. She drank a bottle of potion as a drink. Soon, the wound on her ankle completely healed. Thank you, big brother. She felt full of energy and quickly thanked her. Su Ming smiled lightly. Don't worry about being poisonous, what a silly girl. It's okay, he's a straight person, so he can control it if he doesn't have a heart. Big brother, you are much better than those members of the Sky Tower Club. Before they hunted the big snake, they also stopped in our village and asked about some situations. But they all looked down on us half-orcs, with a look of superiority. It even said our food was terrible. Leah clenched her fists tightly, feeling a little puffed up. To a half-orc, to say that the food is unpalatable is a great offense. Su Ming just looked flat. Humans really are like that. You have to be careful in the future, not everyone is as friendly as me. He reminded casually. The little girl heard the words, but she firmly remembered these words in her heart. Let's go, I'll take you to find the big snake. She jumped out nimbly and quickly. Su Ming followed closely behind her, never leaving her. One person and one cat, traveling through the dense forest as fast as possible. Her movement is very flexible, and she doesn't make a sound when she runs. And it's fast too. No wonder she escaped from the village and became the only survivor. Soon, Su Ming saw the traces of the giant snake, and the soft soil formed a huge crawling road. It was raining heavily in the forest and the ground was slippery. If she didn't lead the way, the traces would have been washed away soon, and it would take a lot of work to find the lair. Su Ming only knew that this giant snake would sleep in estivation, but he didn't know the exact location of the lair. So thanks to her. By the way, big brother, I haven't asked your name yet. Su Ming. Okay, then I'll call you Brother Ming from now on. A few hours later, the two came to a dark maple forest. There is a special fragrance in it. It is only a snake animal. And only a huge mutated python can have such a strong smell of snake gall. There was a bitter taste in the air, which made people sick. Su Ming's eyes were cold, and his hand slowly rested on the broken dragon inlaid sword at his waist. Brother Ming, the big snake's lair is just ahead. Leah leaned against a huge tree with Su Ming and said in a concentrated voice. Su Ming probed to look, and saw a huge boa constrictor inhabiting in the dense forest in front of him. Its body is curled up, its whole body is pitch black, and its body is covered with scales that look like steel sheets, overlapping one after another. The body is extremely stout, roughly estimated to be more than 2 or 3 meters in diameter. The body length reaches tens of meters. Stuck up like a dragon. It can be said to be a serpentine python. It closed its eyes tightly, buried its head in the disc formed by its own body, and was sleeping soundly. Very good. Sure enough, he was in summer sleep. At this time, if he finds its head and uses the killing knife, he will definitely injure or even kill this giant python. When it was defenseless, its critical strike rate was very high. Agility attribute, which can increase critical strike chance and critical strike damage. When the enemy is weak, the critical strike chance will increase additionally. Su Ming has a high degree of confidence and hits a critical strike. Suddenly, a breeze swept over. Su Ming's eyes suddenly changed slightly. The goal of the mission was in front of him, but he calmed down. Su Ming's eyes became gloomy. Because he felt a burst of murderous aura. And, definitely not animals. Animals also feel hunger, thirst and bloodlust before hunting their prey. But that was a hunt for survival. The murderous intent is not so strong. Basically only humans kill for the sake of killing. This murderous aura is very clear. Su Ming was very sensitive and felt it immediately. His eyes flickered slightly, and he directly raised his hand to shake it. He pulled out the Xuanfang sword behind him. In the rainy forest, the alloy edge of this sword reflects the flashes of dark green. Then, with a flick of his wrist, the blade flew straight into the air. Whoosh! The Xuanfang sword turned into a black light, it was reaching the limit. Pierced directly towards the branch. Slap! A few drops of blood dripped from the tree. It fell in front of Su Ming. At the same time, there was a muffled hum. Leah looked shocked. What's going on? Why is there blood? She raised her head and looked at the branches. I saw a few illusory figures squatting on the branch as high as 20 meters. They wear translucent camouflage that almost blends in with the leaves. It is difficult for ordinary people to find them with the naked eye. One of the tallest and strongest people had a huge wound cut on his shoulder by Su Ming. Su Ming sneered. There is really an ambush. Originally, he wasn't sure, but he just felt the murderous intent and tried it out. I didn't expect to hit it directly. That's right, there are dense forests everywhere here. Apart from the trees, where else can we hide? Damn it, it was discovered. The faces of the people on the tree were icy cold. They originally wanted to wait for Su Ming to fight the big snake before making a move. That way nothing will go wrong. Unexpectedly, Su Ming was so vigilant. I can only kill him now. 3 people jumped down from the tall tree. At the same time, each activated their skills and attacked and killed them. Su Ming immediately scanned the information of this group of people. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.